A very good morning to all of you, to all the professors across the globe who are joining this big conference of Center for Applied Social Sciences and Research. I'm Dr. Namita Rajput from University of Delhi, teaching in Department of Commerce, Shri Aurobindo College. I'm here to present my paper on climate destroyers in the global banking world and empirical analysis. Basically, the buzzword of today is decarbonization of economy. That is making the color of the economy more brighter, cleaner and greener. So in all those endeavors, we have to control the pollution level, decrease the greenhouse emissions and decarbonize the economy. There are so many changes which are taking place and everybody is following a path which is sustainable. All the practices are being directed towards controlling these kind of activities, which is going to increase the greenhouse emissions and the carbon dioxide emissions. So there is a re-engineering, redesigning, reframing and revisiting of every concept. All the policy frameworks are now being directed towards making a world carbon free. There are many endeavors which are taken place at the international level to contain and control this issue of greenhouse emissions and other pollutions and to make the economy, that is Earth, more sustainable habitat. As there is no planet B, we have to contain and make this planet cleaner and safer, and we have to be really taking care of our future generations to come. We cannot compromise on their needs because of our greeds. We are all responsible persons of this earth. So we have to develop a shared vision. We have to counter this issue in a very strategic manner because this challenge is not of an individual, it is of the whole globe. So no individualism is required. In fact, the main thing which is required is collectivism and thinking everybody is a part and parcel of this earth. So we have to develop a collective endeavor to control the emissions. So there has to be some kind of internal transformation. There has to be internal consciousness towards doing this, and all issues have to be there in a collective way to bring a good mileage in saving of the earth. More systematic guidelines, framework, reporting formats, complete disclosures, crystal and clear policies, sharing and dissemination platforms, proper conceptualization of the things will really help us in diminishing the unpleasant and disastrous impacts of operational activities across the globe. Climate change is noteworthy concern of the globe. So common platforms, common sharing of the information, what new strategies are being adopted, what new reporting frameworks are there, have to be very voluntarily adopted. There should not be any force. You should think yourself that yes, this earth belongs to me. So at no cost because of your greed, you are allowed to do this. So this joint responsibility will save the earth. But yes, if you see the real scenario and if you try to gauge that what exactly the position is, I'm specifically focusing my paper on the dichotomy of the statements which are made by the banking world, that is the global banking world. That is what far-reaching statements they make, what overwhelming statements they make, and how they are different when they are examined, they are checked, they are gauged. So I was really shocked by the findings and the reporting which is there in the public domain. So we have to comprehend things in a very nicer way so that we are able to contain and sustain the earth. So my endeavors are about gauging the preparedness of the banking sector towards a greener economy. So let me first give you the meaning of a green bank. A green bank or the green banking industry as a whole can really play an outstanding role between the economic growth and the environmental protection for promoting environmentally sustainable and socially accountable institutions. The banking of this kind is called as a green banking. It refers to the banking business conducted in the selected areas and the techniques that help us in overall reduction of the external carbon footprints and the internal carbon footprints. So how the banks can play a very proactive role. So to aid the reduction of the external carbon emissions, the banks should really finance and really show their keenness to finance the green technology and the pollution reducing projects. No funding to those projects should be given which are directed to increase the carbon emissions. So in case of my organization of the study presented a concept and a gaugeness of about 93 banks of the world. So by deeply examining on their lending policies, mainly focused on the coal industry, which is considered as the primary source of the global carbon dioxide emissions. This study tries to unveil the actual scenario in this regard by ranking these institutions by clearly identifying the top climate destroyers in the global banking world. By naming these banks, we will put some kind of moral pressure on them that they should follow a very clean lending policies by denying the loan to those industries which are increasing the pollution levels, and they have to really act now because we are already late in taking some action. Anyhow, it is never too late. So if you act now and if you adopt the clean strategies, the lending norms, we are able to cross this threshold towards a clean portfolio paradigm, which is the need and the call of today. So let me come on to the impacts of energy related impacts on the climate change, because all these issues, the root cause is this. According to our International Energy Agency, energy related carbon dioxide emissions in 2010 were the highest in the history. So this significant increase in the carbon dioxide emissions and the locking in of the future emissions due to infrastructure investments represent a very serious setback to our hopes of limiting the global rise in temperature to no more than 2 degrees Celsius. This was quoted by Dr. Faith, that is the chief economist at IEA. So impacts on the climate change, who is the major offender? The major offender in this scenario is coal. The coal-fired power plants are the biggest source of man-made carbon dioxide emissions and are considered as a major threat to Earth in terms of global warming, and even more than the tropical deforestation or oil use of transportation. So when you talk about the climate change, there is a change in the scale and the frequency of the weather shocks. Sometimes you feel very, very hot. Sometimes you feel very, very cold. Immediate, there is a drift to raining, to cold, to hot winds, to cold winds, and there is a change in the cost of the fuels. So these changes have a deep impact on the economy. Our planet temperature has risen by 0.8 degrees compared to pre-industrial period, and its impact are diverse and negative. So this can direct to raise the sea levels, melting of the glaciers, famines, and the blizzard. If these greenhouse emissions are unimpeded, then it can further raise the temperature, which have devastating and catalytic impacts. After the climate change conference in United Nations in 2010, the limits were set to parameterize the global warming to 2 degrees Celsius, and if indispensable, then further reduction to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The major role played in mounting the CO2 emissions is coal and the coal-fired plants. According to a scientist, James of NASA Space Institute, 80% of the global warming solutions will be achieved if we are successful in ending the pollution from the coal, and thus he crusade the suspension of the new coal-fired plants and a phasing out of the existing coal fleets, which are flourishing in the global context. So this will help in locking the further emissions, provided the entire further plan to build the coal-fired power plants is suspended. The practice of mining through ignition to waste disposal has a calamitous blow on the environment, human vigor, and the communal framework of commune living near mines, power plants, and the waste areas. It dislocates the ecosystems, pollutes the water supplies, and there is an emission of other greenhouse gases like nitrogen oxide, methane, as well as the toxic chemicals such as mercury and arsenic. It displaces the communities and destroys the livelihood. which is very, very bad and shocking. There is a social cost which is borne by whom? It is the poor people. There is a permanent harm to the natural landscapes by mining, as it leads to the massive generation of the huge waste mountains, structural damage and colossal excavation. There is a shred of the bare land. It covers the surrounding communities with dust and wreckage all around, and the underground water slab is also disturbed and lowered by this activity. As the groundwater is pumped out to the dry out of the areas to be mined, this leads to a stern damage to agriculture and the ecosystem. There is a paucity of the public policy in this regard. Presently, all the public policy responses are quite insufficient to capture the desired consequences towards a low carbon economy. The Kyoto Protocol, the legally binding commitments are also running out as far as the limiting of the CO2 emissions are concerned, and the government of various countries seems unsuccessful in capping the emissions from 2012 onwards. This will be in control if the governments uncover the political will to efficiently deal with the climate crisis, especially for those actors that by nature have a large impact on the climate changes. So, role of a commercial banks in Green Yatra. Why do we call it Yatra? Because there are long steps which are involved. It's a journey. The role of the commercial banks are very important in the journey of economics, from a necessary part to entrench the energy production to a low carbon economy. Allocating and mobilizing the resources to the clean energy projects, this will help in curbing and capping the carbon footprints, which is the need of today, through their lending norms, that is basically the rational lending norms. The financing of such plants is mainly done by the commercial banks. So all the more their role is very important to control and cap the carbon dioxide emissions. The power producers to build the coal power plants rely on banks for their financial needs, and approximately the cost of building one plant is about $2 billion. And the saddest state of affairs is that they hide these investments from the public scrutiny. Otherwise, they will be caught. They will be defamed. That the endeavors of all the climate savers are being now drifted to climate killers. I must quote that they are the climate killers if they are very happily financing these kind of plants and the coal powered plants. So they are not the custodians of the climate, they are the climate killers. So now is the time to unveil this and bring this notice to the public that these global banks are not custodian of the climate, but they are the climate killers. The objective of this study is to scrutinize the lending norms and the policy of 93 international banks regarding their financing of the coal industry since 2005, thereby refute their far-reaching statements regarding the climate change mission, which they proclaim in the public interest and are put to a big question mark for their existence. Why are they existing? To contain the environment? I'm sorry to say that they are not containing the environment, they are defaming the environment. The data and the methodology, a spread sample across the country is taken to have a comprehensive and a global picture of issue which is very sensitive. Hence, the selection of 31 companies are taken which are accounted for 44.4% of the total production globally in 2010. A sample of coal-fired companies were also taken on a similar basis, containing 40 most important companies in this sector, selected on the basis of their coal-fired capacity in megawatts in 2010, covering about 51% of the global coal-fired generation capacity in 2010, and limiting the 10 banks per country to have a diversified sample. The data is taken from the bank track, published reports, filing in the stock exchange, trade magazines, and the financial database like Thomson One and the Bloomberg to map out the financial transactions between these companies and the commercial banks. The lending patterns of the global banks. In the study, the total number of transactions which were analyzed amounted to 1405 of total of 93 different banks. The total value of the coal fired provided by these banks since 2005 and near the Kyoto Protocol came into force amounts to $232 billion. The results show that the bulk of the coal financing is provided through investment banking and the corporate loans. There are main vehicles through which the coal mining companies and the providers of the coal-fired electricity raise capital for their investments. In the coal industry, both coal mining and the generation of electricity